رحمن يا رحيم.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back. It is 8:08 a.m. this Friday morning and lovely to be in your company, but not a very, um, I'd say, not a very conversation that we're going into next. Oh, goodness me, what's happening with me getting all tongue tied? We're going to talk with Zakhele Madela about a very important issue. And whenever this issue regarding ESCOM comes up, I am very, very angry because, like the rest of South Africa, this is a totally untenable situation. As a matter of fact, the area that I live in, we had power outages 2 days ago. The power came back on again, but guess what? Only my house, the only house in the street and in the ward, hasn't had power. We've made several attempts at highlighting the situation with our ward councillor. We've also raised the issue and logged a whole host of further tickets or complaints with Eskom, and up to now still don't have electricity. Had to shower in cold water this morning. So I ain't a happy chappy, but let's get on and speak about, and I kind of think about my situation and just how uncomfortable it is. What about the poorest of the poor? What about shack dwellers? What about people who are totally off the grid because they live in areas where there hasn't been water and electricity for months on end? Hectic, absolutely hectic. And this is supposed to be, very especially the issue around water, is supposed to be a constitutional right. Zakhele Madela, I have already complained about my situation. A very good morning to you. You are social and energy expert at South African Energy Forum. We've talked before. Always a pleasure talking with you. Welcome to the program. And yeah, we are going to be continue complaining about the situation in South Africa regarding our ongoing crisis, the power crisis. Welcome.
Good morning to you, my friend, and good morning to the listeners. Good to be back here again. I almost thought that I had been abandoned. Yeah,
No, I needed to vent this morning, and that's why we have you here.
yeah, sorry about
Um,
that.
a ridiculous situation. As a matter of fact, just going back to my personal story, when my husband called City Power last night, because now listen to this, we what is it? We logged a fault. And then, of course, we're waiting for the city power technicians to come out to see what the fault is. Why is it that my house is the only house in the street and in that particular ward whose lights have not come back on? Uh, so that was logged, and we waited all day for them to come. They didn't come. And after 6 that evening, we get a message from City Power saying, we've closed this ticket because your problem has been resolved, or something to that effect. They hadn't even been, and we get a message saying that this log has been closed, or this fault reporting has been closed because your issue has been resolved. Now, is that not adding insult to injury? We then had to call them back to log another fault. And we are still waiting. No hot water this morning, no lights this morning. So,
Wow.
is this the beginning of the possibility of a complete grid collapse?
Yeah, I would say, I'm not to be an alarmist. Yes and no, but the grid will not collapse because we have measures in place to do the power rationing and do what they call load reduction or completely eliminate the part of the country where there's consistent huge demand. But we could just maybe put the collapse of the grid under inverted commas to say when people go for days without power, it is equivalent to the grid collapse. If the grid were to collapse, it will just mean that ESCOM National Control Center has not been able to predict or follow the situation in such a way that it does not result in a grid collapse. But as I said to you, instead of the grid collapsing, we would have people going for weeks, days without power, which is equivalent to that. The grid will still be charged, but it will not be able to send power to some certain parts of the country. Yeah, that's what will happen, and that's where I can say we are heading into with the current thinking and the solutions that are being put on the table. They are just unrealistic solutions.
It's frightening, is it not, Zakhele? Because our situation seems to be getting from bad to worse to critical. We're reaching the critical point, and to again add insult to injury, we now have uh, uh, government, or Cyril Ramaphosa has appointed an energy minister, or an electricity minister that is costing the taxpayer X millions of rands per annum. And what has he said to us so far? I just think he's a clown. In my books, you know, what he said to us is nothing different to what the other clowns have told us already. And you kind of wonder, why has he been appointed, and why are we as taxpayers having to dig deeper into our pockets where our situation is just not improving at all?
The electricity minister, Jose Ramaphosa, in his first 3 weeks, he started on a very good footing. He went straight to try and diagnose the problem. Where we lose him is him battling under pressure and abandoning his own initiative that he had started. He made some very good pronouncement about how unreliable wind and solar are. He visited the ESCOM power station and he came back and he said, we don't have a choice but to look after the coal power station. He is now changing that conversation because he's resorting back to the behavior of the politicians and the clowns, as you say.
He's been captured.
Own,
He's been captured, has he not?
yes, he's abandoning his own outcome of his visit and him talking to the managers. Lucky for him, he doesn't have to do much. He only has to do what Germany did and the UK did. You see, where we are as South Africa, Germany would have been in that situation if it had not acted quickly. Germany has gone back to power its economy with coal and revived power stations of coal that were closed for many years, and it's bulldozing people in the villages. Ramaphosa has a solution. Just do what Germany did. Now he's running with another talk. Now he's being completely encircled by the people who say, leave ESCOM to die. We will provide the alternative power. He really doesn't have any other alternative. He has to press on. He has to get those coal power stations to work. And that's the only solution for him for now. And I'm not even talking about planning for future. I'm talking about Germany has led the way for him.
Mm.
He has to just take a carbon copy of what Germany has done, take it and plug it to South Africa. He will be on the right path.
But then we find ourselves as South Africans, and he himself as the electricity minister, and government itself. We kind of stuck in. There's this conundrum where, on the one hand, there's certain factions talking about going back to power stations. We have the resources. We have coal for possibly the next 100 years. And then you have the green pieces and the renewable energy people talking as well. So there's this pull or pushback between the two different camps. As a social and energy expert at the South African Energy Forum, what are your thoughts regarding these two very distinct forces, the one saying the one thing, the other one saying the other thing? very especially about global warming, carbon emissions, killing the earth, killing the planet, with with us going the coal route, or the fossil fuels, etc., destroying the energy, the planet. Your thoughts? Should it be a gradual shift to renewable energy? At what cost? And how much longer are we in South Africa going to be suffering? And what has Germany done to mitigate the issue around um, carbon emissions, global warming, etc., etc., etc.?
Thank you so much for that question. I think the transition to renewable has to happen gradually and gradually very slowly, because we have seen nations that heavily relied on renewables like Germany, and they almost got into a big problem. But the two opposing forces, the ones that are for renewable energy and the ones that are for coal and nuclear and gas, we have a problem, because we are running with a conversation that we don't even know whose conversation is this about the scaremongering technique of the climate change. And I'll tell you this: USA doesn't sign um, in October 2021 at the COP26 in Scotland. No, they said no, they're not signing for this. This is a big nation like USA. Of course, China and India, they've always said no, they're not party to this. Germany is going against its own signatory on the pledge for climate change in the UK. The question we should be asking ourselves: whose conversation is this? That because of the fear of the climate change, we now have to abandon coal and abandon it all at the same time, even if it comes at the expense of the economy. We're running with a conversation that is not ours. Some people are saying literally we emit an equivalent of 2%. If you ask me, China and India, they don't care. They just look after their citizens. US is banning fossil fuel like crazy. Germany has gone back to banning those. Why are we being pressed about this? The problem is with the NGOs in this country and the government that is completely absent. In Germany, there are NGOs who oppose the going back to coal. They arrested them. They put them behind bars. That's the country with the rule of law. We've got an economy going here. And if you continue being a nonsense, we're going to put you to jail. They put Greta Thunberg in jail. And why am I saying that? The so-called climate change is a scaremongering technique in many, many areas. Let me just quickly describe it. What comes out of a power station is CO2, carbon dioxide. The next one is nitrogen compound, and the next one is sulfur compound. There are technologies to scrap the nitrogen and the sulfur compound. Carbon dioxide, the scientists have yet to prove how does it cause problems. From where we are sitting, carbon dioxide is not a problem. It gives life to the trees and everything. There's these lies that it starts trapping the ultraviolet light that comes and strikes the surface of the earth, and therefore it causes global warming. And when I have the 1.1.5% increase in the ocean, as far as I know, that ocean is cold. If it's going to be heated by 1.5 for the fish and food for you, we don't have ice here. They worried about the ice melting in their
Yeah.
territories. Our shores do not have ice. There is no ice to melt here. So what is this scaremongering on us? They are worried about their own ice that are falling because of the global warming in that part of the world. Here, there's nothing of that sort here. We don't have ice.
But Zakhele, the reality is if they sneeze in America, we've become a global village. If you sneeze in America, we in South Africa catch a cold. So the impacts are rippling and it is felt all around the world. But hold that thought. I'm going to come back to you in a minute or two. We need to go and pay the rent. We are talking with Zakhele Madela, social and energy expert at the South African Energy Forum. We're looking at obviously the issue around a complete grid collapse, which he has answered. We're now looking once again at the debate between fossil fuel and global warming and the impact of that. This tussle between the two different viewpoints all around the world. And we're going to talk in a minute or two about something else that has now just come to light, and that is Eskom's 16 billion rand plan to help load shedding. And how are they going to do this? Well, they're suggesting a smart meter in every house. It just goes over my head. I can't even begin to quantify those numbers. 16 billion rands um, to roll out smart meters in every house, and they claim that that is going to end load shedding. Doesn't make sense to me, but Zakhele is going to come back and respond to that. This is News and Views with me, Julie Ali, right here on Salam Media.
There's no smell that takes me back to the comfort of my childhood than the smell of black seed oil being applied by my nanny. Now I'm using Tib black seed in my own home to soothe sniffles and coughs, to help with digestion and immunity, and of course, as part of my beauty routine. After all these years, I've come to appreciate the wisdom in finding comfort and shifa in trusted treatments like Tib black seed. You can find Tib black seed at all leading pharmacies or find out more at blackseed.co.za.
Conveniently located along the banks of the Crocodile River bordering the Kruger National Park, as a guest at Buckler's Africa Lodge, one can enjoy an amazing sunrise or sunset on our spacious deck area while you catch a glimpse of some wildlife sightings along the Crocodile River. The sounds of the African savannah will greet you whilst you enjoy your morning coffee. Buckler's Africa Lodge by Tingana Collection. Buckler's Africa Lodge is ideally situated only 6 kilometers from the Crocodile Bridge Gate in the Kruger National Park. Catering for all travelers with variety, we have 4 types of the finest rooms: superior rooms, deluxe suites, and 2-bedroomed family units. Each room is equipped with the finest amenities to make your stay unforgettable. Guests can choose between the self-catering option or book their accommodation with breakfast and dinner included. Buckler's Africa Lodge is your ideal location for the ultimate Kruger getaway experience. We specialize in exhilarating and educational game drives in Kruger, tailor-made to suit your family. Inquire about our various accommodation offerings and other activities. Visit www.tingana.co.za for more information. Buckler's Africa Lodge by Tingana Collection. Experience the pulse of Africa with us.
No one wants to let go of that feeling of closeness to Allah that we feel by the end of Ramadan. Ramadan is over, but that closeness doesn't have to be. The deeds most loved by Allah are those done regularly, even if they are small. So don't let go of that feeling. Give a small amount regularly and hold on to Allah's love. Donate now to Islamic Relief.
Ah, the kitchen, the heart of the home, where memories are made and celebrated. Our go-to place for those freshly stacked pancakes early in the morning or for that late-night snack munchies. We are in there together, cooking, eating, and celebrating life together. Let's keep the kitchen a place that is shared by everyone, where we build stronger bonds and grow together. Sunfoil, Now We Cooking. Visit nowwecooking.co.za for recipes that everyone can help make.
When the perfect blend of stylish decor, exquisite halal cuisine, and warm hospitality come together, it could only mean Al Bayt Lodge, your true home away from home. Al Bayt is the ideal heaven for families, business people, and tourists with its 4-star family rooms and other luxurious facilities. Conveniently situated close to Port Elizabeth Airport, the beach, and other amenities, your stay will be truly unforgettable, as you'll be taking home lasting memories of the warm hospitality, the serenity and tranquility that Al Bayt has to offer. For reservations, call 041 583 6415 or visit www.albaytlodge.co.za.
Listen to something fresh. Listen to Salam Media. your humanitarian broadcaster.
يا رحمن يا رحيم.
8:28 exactly on this Friday morning, the 28th of April. This is News and Views right here on Salam Media. Welcome back. I'm talking with Zakhele Madela, social and energy expert at the South African Energy Forum. Welcome back to you, Zakhele. Do you want to wrap up the pushback regarding obviously fossil fuel and the use of fossil fuels and renewable energy? Um, how do you suppose Germany has answered uh, regarding this going back to fossil fuels? What has their take been on this whole thing? And a whole host of other issues arise as well regarding fossil fuels, does it not? In the past, way back in the day, we had migrant laborers working in the mines, extracting coal and supplying the country and keeping the country's lights on. Do you think that our youth and our workforce would be interested in going down into the mines and use this as an employment opportunity? Else we're going to have to go the migrant labor route once again, and there's a whole host of other issues that comes with that, does it not? And then we complain in the country about too many illegal immigrants or too many immigrants in the country. This is one of the reasons why we sit with that problem, which is totally apart from the energy crisis, but it is part of the bigger issue, is it not?
Oh, definitely it is. But we have to go the route of what economic freedom fighters say, that the state must intervene in the economy and we must have ownership of the mine. The problem that we have is that the mines are owned by extremely rich individuals and shareholders, and they want to pay very little for the miners. So we have to create a situation where there's a decent income that you earn by being underground and being a coal miner. South Africans are not going to go underground because that is got a connotation of us being used as slaves in the past. As long as the mining sector doesn't open up and say, you can now take home 24,000 rand as a miner, because the cost of living requires you, if you say you have any form of employment and you are responsible for your household, you must be in the ballpark figure of 24,000, 30,000. But if you tell South Africans they must go underground for 9,000 rand, they're just going to sit and not want to go there. So
and the health risks going underground are huge.
Yes. So they need to create an incentive to show that we are in this together. And that can be done, because if you listen to the profits that they declare, it's enormous profit. I mean, the CEO of the mineral country was saying in 2022 alone, they exported 250 billion rand equivalent of coal. But what he won't tell you how much of that money was paid to the miners underground, because everybody's being exploited. But what I like about countries like Germany, they've had to look and say, even though we are a signatory to the climate change, the situation at the moment, in order for the economy not to take a dip and the lights going off, we have to go back and say we're going to be burning coal up until 2038. This is leadership, because it says we understand our commitment to the climate change, but right now we are caught between our signature there and the country going on a blackout, and they go for the route of saving the country. So the same with us, we appreciate these climate talks. It's not that we are dismissing them, but please, let's move into cleaner technologies gradually. Let's have the right mix. Let's balance the economy, and let's make the people love their country and be prepared to go work underground. It's really as that simple. But unfortunately, everybody wants to be rich in the South African economy. This is a country where everybody wants to come and make a quick buck, because the government is completely absent from its job.
Okay, so what you're saying, to put it in a nutshell, is that it is doable, it is workable. We can appease both camps, the fossil fuel people, the youngsters today that talk about taking ownership of the mines and making it work in the interest of us as South Africans. So let the mines continue regenerating, create jobs, but pay decent salaries. And in the meantime, start introducing your renewable energy plan. So you roll it out in such a way that the fossil fuels, the mining happens, coal is supplied, we live off, obviously, fossil fuel energy, and we start decreasing that dependency as we up, obviously, the renewable energy. It comes to a point then, perhaps in 10 years' time or 20 years' time, where it is so gradual that you don't even feel, the country doesn't feel the impact of shutting off fossil fuels. And in a very big way, we switch over to cleaner, renewable energy without absolutely no disruption to the country or to energy resources at all. What is so difficult about understanding how to do that?
Perhaps it's vested interest. And I do want to add that renewable energy and nuclear, because that's what they are doing overseas. And we are very glad that Musi Maimane has built one South Africa. He has come out and said South Africa must procure between 4,000 and 5,000 of nuclear, while he's trying to procure 2,500. And we've had AFRIFORUM as well acknowledging the importance of nuclear. And we've got all the examples and everything happening overseas, that a mix of nuclear power and renewables and a bit of gas will balance the economy. So absolutely what you said, it's difficult because they're listening to the people with vested interest. Let me just give you a quick one. When the CEO of the Mineral Council says in 2022 alone, we exported an equivalent of 250 billion rand coal, not other commodities, coal. You have to ask yourself, where was that coal going? Because everyone is moving away from coal. No, it was going to the nations who prioritize their countries, who are going for a gradual transition and who are planning to have a mix of nuclear and a mix of renewables in 5 or 10 years time from now. We are hooked onto the talk of renewables, renewables, renewables. We're going to miss out. These nations are going to come back and say, we are no longer burning coal because we've got the right mix of nuclear and renewables. This is what we should be running with, and allow Ramakgoba to have these power stations of coal of ESCOM running for the next 20 years. And then our plan speaks to that to say, as we decommission them, we replace them with so much renewables, we replace them with so much nuclear. That is the talk we should be having. Unfortunately, that talk is being suppressed. It has taken people like Musi Maimane. Who would have thought that Musi Maimane would put a plan for Build One South Africa that says beat nuclear? He doesn't even talk about renewables. He doesn't even talk about wind and solar. He only talks about nuclear. This is Musi Maimane because he's come across this realization and the fact. Yes.
Yeah. Absolutely, and one wonders why the government is not opening their ears, sitting up and listening, and start thinking more smartly. Let's move on then and look at the issue around we fighting crippling power crisis here in the country. Eskom is now saying that they want to put smart meters to put an end to load shedding, but it comes at a cost of 16 billion rands, and it's going to happen over a 4-year period. Is that a smart move? They go on to say that the program will cost, as I've said, 16 billion rand, and they hope to recover more than 7,000 megawatts into the grid. Is that doable? Does it make business and energy sense to you as a social and energy expert?
Let me first make a disclaimer that I'm not an expert in smart meters. I was exposed
Okay,
to them a little bit in 2001.
right.
I think I'll be on the side of ESCOM, and it needs to be done very carefully.
All
It can
right.
work. It can work because what it means is if you've got the electricity in your household. One
Yeah.
of the things that you could do with the smart meters, it can refuse to get your washing machine to run. It can refuse to let you have the iron while ironing your clothes run while your fridge is on. And
Ah.
it may force you to prioritize between the stove that is on and you ironing your clothes. And that way, they are basically saying that we can reduce load shedding because we can get inside people's homes and start putting meters that refuse them to have the lights on, fridge on, stove on, iron on, TV on, and somebody doing some grinding outside or somebody playing radio. It's going to disallow you certain things while the power is on. And that's where these smart meters will be very helpful because, and also it will also force the people to say during the day, from, let's say, as an example, from 10 o'clock to 2 o'clock, we have good power because not a lot of people are using it. Maybe then it's going to make people to say, oh, let me go and iron, let me go and cook, let me
Ah.
go and do this because all my tasks are on during this time. During peak times, it's going to refuse to have everything plugged. So it is going to intervene because we were supposed to do that already ourselves. But people
Mm.
don't care. They would have everything plugged during the peak time, and really they are not. It's a list of their worries. So those smart meters will help in that way.
Okay, so it's going to teach us to be more disciplined as far as our usage of electricity and energy is concerned. And that's not a bad thing at all. I just kind of wondered, and thank you for putting that into context. I kind of wondered, was this just not another plan that they, grappling with and
Brilliant
may
plan.
not be workable? But you are saying that it is a smart idea.
It's a brilliant plan. It's just that if they were to remove corruption, they don't even need to go through it via a tender. They can just hire the people who know how to roll it out. It may be rolled out by ESCOM and by municipalities themselves. Because if it gets open to the tenders, again, it will
Yeah.
end up being 50 billion rand, not 16 billion rand.
Okay, you actually answered my final question regarding the tenders regarding these smart meters, and I have no doubt in my mind, all those greedy politicians and business people are already salivating at the thought of getting a cut of the pie regarding these smart meters. But that's where we're going to leave it, Zakhele. Always a pleasure talking with you. I love picking your brains. Thank you for putting everything into context for us this morning. Go well. Till the next time I speak with you again, enjoy the rest of the long weekend.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I was right about under the rate. I said you won't be there by the Easter weekend. But anyway, yes,
You go well. Keep me in your prayers. Go well and
I
have a
will,
safe weekend.
will come and install the smart meters by your house. Cheers.
At least we're ending on a light note. That was Zakhele Madela, social and energy expert at the South African Energy Forum. I'm glad I'm laughing, but I'm not a very happy chappy. As I've told you, I've not had electricity, well, for almost 24 or 36 hours now. And the only house in the street or in the ward whose lights have not come back on. But hey, you know what? Inshallah, when I get home today, there will be light. There definitely will be light. Not only in my home, but on this subject as well. Okay, it's 8:41 news and views on Salam Media with me, Julie Ali. And another interview that I'm super excited about is the visit by Sister Abir Zayad. She's an archaeologist based in Al Quds. She is coming to South Africa next week as a guest of Salam Media. And inshallah, we are going to take her on a tour of South Africa. So you will have the opportunity of meeting her. Do stand by.